Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been an honor and an inspiration to be here, and I've hugely enjoyed getting to know you and hear about your priorities and your vision. And can I say, I'm an objective voice here. I've worked in 4 countries. I've worked with many arts funders. I think you are incredibly lucky with your arts funders and with their vision and their courage. It may not feel like that now, but in a couple of years, I think you'll see what a remarkable job they're doing for you. I'm not paid to say that. So, the Théâtre du Chatelet opened in Paris in 1862, and I'm the first woman to direct it, and I'm the first foreigner, so you can imagine how popular I am. It had a history of innovation. It's a 2,000-seat opera house right in the middle of Paris. But right from the start, it tried to invent a new art form, which it called operette, for the working classes, for ordinary people, and introduced large-scale circus artists to reach out to find new audiences. So it started with populism at its heart. In the 20th century, it invited the Ballet Russe to be resident there. So it got Diaghilev, Stravinsky, Ravel, Debussy, Cocteau, Satie, you name it. They were there. And there, I guess, the takeout was innovation, was the invention of new art forms, but again at a big scale for 2,000 seats. And my predecessor, Jean-Luc Chopin, looking back at that tradition, has just introduced American musicals, which had never been seen in Paris, done at the highest possible level. One of them, An American in Paris, directed by Chris Wheeldon, the great choreographer, is playing right now in Toronto. So I'm in the ideal experience now, which is designing a cultural experience, but I haven't done it yet. And as you know, that's often the time when those ideal experiences look really, really good. So what I'm sharing with you is intention and ambition. We're closed for building works. We open next year. But we have, in fact, started our first experimental piece, so we can't work in the theatre. But we've got a piece called Bambino, which is aimed at an audience of 6-month to 18-month-year-old babies. And I'm confident in saying that this is a new audience for the Théâtre du Chatelet. It isn't playing in the theatre, it's playing in creches, in family centres, in libraries, in community centres round Paris, particularly in some of the most economically deprived arrondissements of Paris. And for me, in all seriousness, the symbolism of this first piece is very important, and it is about the values that we bring to the job as a new management, but also critically it's about the values of the City of Paris. So the City of Paris own our theatre, and they are our largest funder. 50% of our funds come from the City of Paris, the rest we have to earn ourselves. And for the City of Paris, their starting point for the Théâtre du Chatelet is very simple. Every single person who pays tax to the City of Paris is paying for the Théâtre du Chatelet. So what are we doing for every single person in Paris? And that's a very great challenge for us, and a very, I think, important start for how you begin to shape the ideal cultural experience, particularly when you're running an opera house, which, as we know from yesterday's presentation, is right there as the most unpopular art form in the most unpopular sort of venue. So what are we doing? Well, Bambino perhaps gives a couple of signals. The babies in Bambino are on the stage with the singers and the musicians. There is no fourth wall. There is an absolutely clear sense in which every member of the audience is required to become a participant. They're absolutely free to laugh, cry, crawl, do whatever they wish. And that, for me, is a very important starting point. I don't think that anymore we can work in the world of audiences where we expect them to sit in rows and consume. I think that we're in the world where we are working with our communities and our citizens to develop activists, participants, artists, creators, who happen to be the people who also contribute to our income by buying some tickets every now and then. After Bambino, we're going to work with the choreographer Akram Khan, and he has created a piece, which in fact he created in London. We're reviving it in Paris, which is for 700 dancers, none of them professional. So 700 dancers are going to work with us in the 20 arrondissements of Paris and develop their own dance skills and at the same time learn their role in Akram Khan's dance, which then we will perform in a big public square right in the centre of Paris. And there, again, the values, I hope, are clear. So apart from encouraging community members, citizens of all ages who are keen on dance, they do have to be actually quite good at dance because Akram's work is world-class and very demanding, as well as encouraging them to become participants and actually to become the artists in our show. We're also encouraging people in Paris to come to a pop-up performance where they can see for free, and that's very important, a world-class artist with some world-class art. Again, I guess when you are closed, when your theatre is closed, you have the luxury of introducing yourself and experimenting with the people that might become your potential audiences, participants, artists. We started a program of workshops with the Malian community in Paris, where we're developing with professional musicians from Mali and professional musicians from Paris what we're calling at the moment a Malian opera. It's a very, very bad title. We have to get better than that. But for us, this is the start of exploring with a particular community how we can create a large-scale popular form, which is inspired by a world-class cultural form, but also, of course, is addressing some quite urgent issues about the history of Mali and the history of France, not a history that that has the same obligation for truth and reconciliation that you are grappling with in your own contexts. And finally, my final example, all of this is happening this year in our closure period, is an artist from North America, Elizabeth Streb, an artist committed to developing the talents of young people, an artist who believes actually that everyone can fly. I can't quarrel with that. And she is doing a series of workshops for us with young people and with adults in Saint-Denis. It's another particularly disadvantaged section of Paris. Actually, it's one of the places where the Olympic Games will particularly, they hope, benefit and raise the quality of life and life opportunities. But Saint-Denis is the home to a national circus school, so Elizabeth will be working with young people to develop their skills. And then we're going to be doing another free show for families, where the families can also learn some tricks, try out their flying skills, but they can also watch the professional artists, the world-class artists from New York, working with the young people who've done the workshops and interacting with the families who turn up on the day. For us, that's the start. It's an R&D in public for what will be our opening show in what I hope will be 2019. But it's a way, again, just to begin to share the values of how we would like to work with audiences. Our final example I just wanted to share, I'm not going to name the artist because I didn't ask his permission. It's a French rap artist, and he's developing also for us a new large-scale piece, which we're modestly calling the French Hamilton, because, you know, let's aim high again. But interestingly, one of the starting points for him and his project will be the moment you buy a ticket, the experience is going to start. So you don't have to wait to come to the theatre. You can start by getting work that we will be sending to you, sharing with you, work that you can interact with on your portable, on your mobile phone. And that's another area that for us is very important, that to get out of the 2,000-seat theatre, once we're back in that theatre, has to be something that we keep committing to. We keep committing to taking the art to work with and for the publics, the citizens, the participants that we're developing. And so this piece will be developed in the banlieue, in the suburbs of Paris, with workshops, again, with young people, by the rap artist. But the moment that we're on sale, anyone who wants to participate in the piece can begin to interact with it. And for us, it's not just that building, which, you know, we have to make porous, exciting, interactive. It's also the outdoor spaces that we have all around us in the centre of Paris, where we need to keep committing to doing free work that engages and interacts, and, of course, the digital dimension, work where we can create with artists work that anyone enjoy anywhere in the world, actually. We've talked a lot in the last 24 hours about digital, and I just wanted to share one thought, which I haven't heard anyone say, so forgive me if you said it and I wasn't in the room. I think that one of the reasons that our publics are increasingly interested in being activists, artists, is because of the way they interact with the art that they experience every day. So everybody, with their own phone, becomes a filmmaker, a photographer, a music editor, maybe a composer, maybe a poet, maybe a writer of some sort. But everyone is used to controlling that art. I hold the art in the palm of my hand. This is a very different relationship with the art than the experience you get if you sit in my very, very beautiful 2,000-seat opera house, where, as an audience member, I'm extremely little, and the spectacle on the stage is extremely large. I think we have to take seriously the way that this is changing not just our habits for accessing information, but really the way that we engage, the power that we have, and that we feel we have over the art. This is enormously significant, and in the future is going to be at the centre of the way in which artists create with and for their public. That's my theory. I should just say, when you're looking for partners outside the box in digital, I'm here. Please. I'm really keen on francophone and anglophone projects. So I'm your ideal partner, and it's the internet, right? So that's okay. I guess for me, I come back all the time to the values, and the values are how we can change our relationship with our audience. We've heard a lot about it. I want to really push us back to think about how actually it's not just our donors where we want them to be our advocates, our partners, to share the process. It's every single person that interacts with us. And at the lowest financial level, at the lowest level of donors, they are our ticket buyers. And I really believe that we need to find a way in which those audiences become as active and as loved, as cherished as our big donors. Because I think that's where the revolution maybe begins to start in our relationship. One of the very humbling things about Paris is, of course, it is a real home for revolution. And one of the interesting features about the revolutions that Paris has hosted is that the foreigners that go there to start them off, almost without fail, come to a very sticky end pretty fast. But notwithstanding that, it's true. And history never lies, as we know. Notwithstanding that, one of the things that we're trying to start is a 10-year plan, because we know that real revolution, real change, it takes 10 years. And sticking to the world of the digital for a moment, one of our starting points has to be the democratic deficit. So we heard yesterday about the idea of an illegal cultural institution, that is to say, a cultural institution that doesn't really have the right to do the work it's doing. So I'm funded by the Ville de Paris, but of course my boss, the mayor of Paris, she's got the democratic endorsement. She's been voted for. No one's voted for me. No one at all. No one's voted for me. No one's voted for my values. No one's voted for my program. So how do we take seriously that democratic deficit? What are the ways, now that we have these great tools at our disposal, that we can really actually begin to test whether the citizens that we're here to serve believe in the good job that we're doing, whether we are in fact delivering what they want, whether we are in fact inspiring, changing lives, provoking, addressing the urgent issues, doing the things we all believe in? Well, I'd like to start by setting up some digital town halls. I don't see why we can't do some real debates, actually, in the real town halls around Paris with our real audiences and potential audiences. But wouldn't it be interesting if we could also begin to create a digital tool that really was interactive, that really enabled us to test some of our ideas in a meaningful way, in an interactive way, in a long-term way? in a long-term experiment. And I'd love it if there was anyone who wanted to be a partner, because how interesting it would be to test the idea of a democratic deficit campaign in more than one community around the world at the same time. So a couple of thoughts just to throw out. And in all seriousness, if the takeaways for me, of the key values that we need to develop with and for our audiences had been social justice and interaction, the other good word was fun. And I can't think of more fun than trying to have a new revolution in Paris. Anyone who wants to join me, you're more than welcome. Thank you very much.